What is an exit interview? Have you ever completed an exit interview when you left a company? Do you tell the truth on an exit interview? Do you feel that the information that you put on the exit interview will be read and or heard and or acted upon? If not, why? Hello, this is Professor BJ here. I wanted to come and talk today about the importance of exit interviews, the importance of resigning the right way. We've talked about this in previous lives and previous videos when I talked about workplace toxic environments, constructive discharge. Very, very important that when you leave a company, you leave the right way, because guess what? You may have to return to that company and or a company that's affiliated with that company, a subsidiary of that company. Did you know that companies keep records, and they keep records for a very long time? You may think, I left the company 10 years ago, they won't know if I reapply. Guess what? If they have an advanced, a robust HRIS system, Human Resources Information System, that information is housed in that system for many, many years. So it could be 10 years, it could be 15 years. In some cases, it may even be 20 years. Your information is still in their database. So guess what? When you leave a company, you're either marked as eligible for rehire or ineligible for rehire. Again, this is all very situational. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Again, every situation is different. I'm providing general information. Again, my content, I'd like to think that, those youngsters who are new to the workforce, perhaps their first job, or maybe some that have been in the workforce, but they just don't know. Typically speaking, when you leave a company, voluntarily, there are two types of exits from a company. Either you do it voluntarily or you're asked to leave in the form of a termination, firing, separation, mutual agreement to leave. Or however, again, I inject humor because life is hard. So, let's keep it light. Not too heavy, again, for information and educational purposes only. So again, very important. A 2 weeks notice is not a federal law. It's not a requirement, but however, it is recommended. It is a best practice, and it's commonly accepted in the workplace. Sometimes, I've talked about this in previous videos, if the environment is so toxic, so harassing, so unbearable, you may be forced to leave the company immediately. If you have gone to HR, if you've reported your issues, if you don't see any changes, if the environment is so toxic, harassing, bad management, on and on. I've talked about that in other videos, so I don't want to belabor this video about that, but this is all interrelated. So important to give a 2 weeks notice if possible. Sometimes in some companies, when you go to them, you provide your resignation letter. Typically they'll say, okay, well, our policy is, thank you for providing the letter. We will pay you out 2 weeks. You can pack your bags and leave today. So be prepared when you give a resignation letter. Some companies will ask you to leave immediately. And again, sometimes based on your position, they don't want to leave the company vulnerable to certain things. I'll leave it at that. So they may ask you to leave immediately. And other times you give them 2 week notice. You're required to work out the 2 week notice. Example, don't give a 2 weeks notice, but then you take vacation for the next week. Generally speaking, you're not really completing that 2 week time period, because during that 2 weeks it's important, because it depends, again, situational, your position. They're working on a transition plan for the person who's going to take your job. If it's internal or external, that's very important for the company. Again, remember I told you, companies need employees, employees need companies. There's an interdependency. So be respectful of the company will be respectful of you. Guess what? You know what you had at this company. You don't know what you have at the next company or the next opportunity or the next venture. Things don't always work out as we plan. You may want to go off and start a business. That's wonderful. That's great. It may not work out for whatever reason. You may have to come back. Because guess what? While you're doing all this transitioning and moving, those bills are still going to keep coming. Your mortgage, your rent, your car payment, the food on the table, electric, cable, phone, all those things will continue regardless of what's going on in your life. So again, my recommendation, lead the right way if possible. Again, situational. That 2-week period is very important so that you can train your replacement, so that you can transition the work. Because again, depends on your position. Companies have obligations to their clients to fulfill contracts, because companies can get sued for not fulfilling those, for missing deadlines, for not delivering the products that they or services that they had promised contractually. So again, that's very important, that 2-week time period. Sometimes, depends on your position, it may be recommended to give a longer time period. The higher up you go in the company, when you get to the mid-level, director, vice president, senior vice president, sometimes, we're not talking C-suite, because sometimes once they know you're leaving, you're out, because they don't, they just want it to be quick and painless. Just pull the Band-Aid off for whatever reason. That's a whole different, conversation when you talk about the C-suite. But we're talking, employees from, senior leadership down, giving 2 weeks notice. If it's a performance issue, generally speaking, you've been on some kind of write-up. There's been progressive discipline that you've been notified. If it's a tardiness issue, if it's, an issue, you having a conflict in your family, there's some personal things that you need to attend to. You've talked to your manager, you've exhausted all of your leave that you've been eligible for. You know that the company no longer has a legal obligation to continue your position if you're not able to return from whatever type of leave you're on. Hopefully your company did the right thing by you. Again, I'm fair, I'm objective. Make sure that you're getting all the benefits that you're entitled to. Read your handbook, read your benefits plan, read your summary plan document. That's all very important. But again, when you leave the company under great terms, you had a wonderful tenure, the company was good to you, you were good to the company, you see this amazing opportunity. Do you, when you get that exit interview in the mail, maybe email or a document you receive in the mail, do you fill those out? Are you honest? You've gone from the company. You don't have to worry about any retaliation. I've talked about that before. You haven't filed any ELC complaint. Not yet, but I don't want to digress. Everything was great. Great opportunity is in front of you. Are you honest? Those exit interviews are important. Again, situationally, some companies really take those to heart. Within reason, they really do. Contrary to popular belief, they do go and they look at those. Usually that's a part of HR's, responsibility to gather up all the information, or they may outsource it to a company that will aggregate all of the information and then send a report. If there are patterns, if there are themes, if there are recurring reasons why employees are leaving the company, they're leaving a certain department, a certain team, a certain division in a good company, they will go to HR, or HR will go to the leadership team over that department or that division and say, look, we've got a problem. Houston, we have a problem. In looking at the stats, everything's about data, metrics, numbers. We've got to address this issue. We've got to give, additional leadership training. We've got to have a better benefits package. We have got to do a better job with training. We've got to do a better job with placement. Are we putting the right people in the right positions? Have we done the right thing for the employees? What are the promotional opportunities? What are the advancement opportunities? What is a career pathing? What is a succession plan? All of these things are important. So if you're with a good company, they will take heed. They may not be able to do everything that you recommend on your in your exit interview. However, it doesn't hurt. You don't want to burn any bridges. Again, you may have to come back over that bridge. You can be honest but not brutal. That is possible. You can give constructive criticism, but don't tear the company down, because guess what? You were there for 10 years. You got paid, you got promotions, you got raises. You stayed there for 10 years for a reason. So there was something about that company that you liked for the tenure of the time that you were there. So again, this is just something that's I've been thinking about, exit interviews. So if you ever have the opportunity to complete one, please do so. Don't trash it. It provides valuable information to HR and the leadership of that company to do better by your colleagues that you left behind. So Professor BJ here until the next video. Have a great day. Have a wonderful week. Take care.